What is happening?
I don't know.
Possibility to split the first prize?
Magnus Carlsen and Jan Nepomniachtchi have requested to split the golden prize.
Carlsen has been accused of match fixing after his joint World Blitz Championship win with Nepomniachtchi.
Magnus made an offer to Jan, which he simply could not refuse.
You're definitely not supposed to conspire to prearrange a draw.
This should have been shut down instantly.
The biggest chess scandal of 2025 has already happened. Magnus Carlsen, the best chess player in the world and perhaps all time, is being accused of match fixing and cheating. Within the last week, audio has surfaced from a behind-the-scenes video posted by ChessBase India, which reveals allegedly Magnus Carlsen agreeing to match fix future chess games. Now, Magnus has come out to say that these were jokes. Since then, conversations have happened. People have been discussing lots of different takes and opinions about the impact and the aftermath of what happened on December 31st of 2024. But I'm here to say that I don't think we were working with the full story. I've been working tirelessly the past week, digging into the behind-the-scenes video that was released, and I believe I've found something of value. So I'm here to share the truth of what happened that day and to hopefully, number one, inspire more interest in chess, but number two, prevent anything like this from happening again. Hi, my name is Connie. I am an artist, a musician, an audio engineer, and over the past 10 years, I have taught myself the ins and outs of audio engineering. What I did was download this behind-the-scenes video and try to see if I could find anything buried within the audio itself that, upon first watch, viewers did not capture. And I'm here to say that there were a few things we should talk about. But first of all, what the fuck happened? How did we get here? I think I got it. A game over 2,000 years old that hasn't really changed much. And despite that, it's pretty much stumped every god human that has played it, including myself. I picked up chess about 6 months ago. Not the first time I'd heard of chess, but definitely the first time I was interested wholeheartedly in playing and trying to get good at it. And I got really invested in trying to get better. Over the last 6 months, I've increased my ELO about 300 points by just playing and practicing tactics, watching videos online, and playing a lot of games. Now, if you don't know anything about chess, I want to give you a quick, update. And then we can get into our story, I promise. It's not going to be that quick, but we'll get there. I promise. There's so much shit that happened, I don't even understand. Where were we? Okay, the basic rules of chess. Right, so there's 16 pieces that you and your opponent get. There's 2 colors. You either get to play as white or black. There are 8 pawns, 2 bishops, 2 knights, 2 rooks, 1 queen, and 1 king. All of that is in ascending order of worth. Your king is invaluable. If your king becomes under attack and it has no way to run away, you lose. Now, do the colors matter in chess? Yes. White always moves first in the game of chess. Because white gets to move first, it's sort of like dictating a conversation. You walk into the room and you say, "My is this big," and then your opponent says, "Please, I believe that's sexual assault." White comes out with their big idea and black has to respond to it. White usually starts off with a little bit of an advantage even before the game has started. When you're playing chess, it's a back and forth game, but you don't get forever. You usually play within time controls, and we have labels for these. So if you're playing for a very long time, we call that classical chess. If you're playing for just a couple minutes, then we call that rapid, and if you're playing with only a handful of minutes or less, we call that blitz and bullet. At the end of 2024, the Rapid and Blitz World Chess Championship was held in the financial capital of the world, Wall Street in New York City. Now, the two time controls that were used were 15 minutes for the Rapid portion and 3 minutes for the Blitz portion. We are going to be primarily talking about the Blitz portion today, but yeah, we'll get to the Rapid portion in a second, because this one has something to say about it. In chess tournaments, like the one we're going to talk about today, there is a men's and women's section. They call it the Open. It's the men's and the women's section. Remember that it will be important for later. If the player wins, they gain a point. If they lose, they gain no points. If they tie, they gain half a point. Now, in chess, unlike other sports, making a draw can be common. I wouldn't say it's what happens the majority of the time, but it can happen, especially if you get two very good players at the board. Keep that in mind. And at the end of 2024, the best Rapid and Blitz players gathered in New York City to play the best chess and hopefully end the year with a bang. Players like Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru Nakamura, Hans Niemann, Jan Nepomniachtchi, Wesley So, Ali Reza Firouzja, Fabiano Caruana, and more were all there to win possibly $90,000.
Let's take a look at what they're playing for. The money on the line. They've already guaranteed themselves a nice payday of $70,000.
Yeah, I gotta talk about FIDE. Now, this tournament would be overseen by FIDE, which is an international chess refereeing organization that has basically had a clutch on the chess market for decades and decades at this point. Players' ratings and basically their place amongst the world leaderboards is held within a FIDE rating. And so when you go to some verified chess tournament, it's likely that FIDE is involved. Now, this year, FIDE changed the rules and the system for how a winner would be decided. In the past, there would be games played over 2 days, anywhere from 15 to 21 games, and the winner was decided on who won the most games. If there was a tie, as we talked about can happen in chess, it would be settled via an Armageddon. What is an Armageddon? Basically, it's a betting man's favorite version of chess. Each player bids for black. Now, as we've already discussed, black is the worse side to play with on the two colors. Now, they bid in time. If it's a 3-minute tournament, player 1 could bid 2 minutes and 45 seconds, but player 2 would win by bidding 2 minutes and 30 seconds. They would get the black pieces. If the game is played out and it comes to a draw, well, in Armageddon's rules, black is deemed the winner. In any other circumstance, either black loses or black wins a concisive victory. That is how a tiebreak was broken in the past. As we're going to learn, it was decided a very different way this year. The Blitz portions of the 2024 World Chess Champions was structured differently. On the first day, there would be 13 games. Of those 13, whoever was top 8 at the end of the day moved on to the second day, which was semifinals. This could be important later. From there, on day 2, those 8 players would whittle down to 2. Hello, Editor Connie here. I messed up recording and read the wrong section of the rules, so I'm just going to read it here. Basically, it states that after drawing colors, so the players randomly get assigned which side they play with, one game of 3 minutes plus 2 seconds. Every time they move, they get an extra 2 seconds. That game is played to determine the winner. And then the next line down says that if that game is drawn, another game shall be played. The next line says the same thing. If game is drawn, the procedure continues until the first game won by one of the players.
So the players keep changing colors back and forth and playing games until one of them loses. So this means that the players could be in for possibly unlimited amount of games, though that is nowhere in the realm of reality of what could happen. By the end of the tournament, 2 people had clawed their way to the finish line, vying for first. Magnus Carlsen and Jan Nepomniachtchi. But again, as we will discuss, not one winner was crowned. Okay, so that, I think, covers everything we need to talk about. I talked about the game, I talked about the rules, I talked about the tournament, I talked about the people, and we talked about the stakes. Lots of money on the line. I definitely don't think I'm missing anything.
Let's talk about James' game real quick. I told myself that I wouldn't talk about this because it was so meaningless to some of the real implications here. But I think it's important for all of the viewers here to really get a sense and an understanding of all the power dynamics at play. On the second day of the Rapid tournament, Magnus Carlsen withdrew. He withdrew because the chief arbiter of FIDE present at the tournament requested that he change into more formal attire. This is what Magnus was wearing. Certainly business casual. I think that there's a separate little nugget of conversation to be had here about how people in power, usually those people with a lot of capital, are trying to dictate how we dress, which is inherently one of the ways we express ourselves. And in this case, on the face and surface, it is absolutely ludicrous. Silly to pause a man before playing a chess game and say, hey, you are not fit to play the game because you're wearing jeans. The arbiter requested that he go change. Magnus said no. And so then the arbiter did not pair Magnus, did not give him another opponent for the next round. After that, Magnus just left. I believe he was fined as well. So he got a fine, and he was then taken out of the next round. Again, there were like 13 or so rounds going on. Anyway, what this ensured, though, because he was removed from one round, was that he could not gain enough points to win the tournament. Now, Magnus, I think, rightfully went out to the press, such as Take, which is his own company, and other places too, and talked about this decision and saying, well, this is what he said.
They can enforce their rules. That's fine by me. And my response is that, fine, then I'm out. Like, fuck you.
So, yeah, you can't really hate on the guy for being like, this is silly. I'm out of the tournament because y'all are playing with silly rules. And the chief arbiter has prevented me, Magnus, from
getting enough points to make it into the winner's circle. I really didn't want to spend all this time on this, man. Anyway, the point being is that FIDE and Magnus talked over the next few days, and rather than Magnus leaving the tournament entirely, he agreed to come back and play the final 2 days, which was the Blitz portion of this tournament, in which he would be only, exclusively, wearing jean. All's well that ends well, right? Well, not quite. See, this is, to many people, and to myself, a clear sort of backtracking by FIDE and bowing to some of Magnus's demands. Now, do I think that these demands, in terms of softening dress code rules, were righteous? Absolutely. If Magnus is leading the charge on providing players clothing and fit opportunities before high-stakes chess tournaments, if they're unable to acquire dress code appropriate things, if he was laying the groundwork for more casual wear, which is what he's doing now. This is how he attended the next 2 days of the Blitz tournament, just in jeans. And he looks great. He looks great doing it. So, to me, this isn't so much of a big flex or like power slam type of crit attack on FIDE. I do think he got them into a full Nelson and wedgie and was like, how do you like it? And FIDE was like, please stop, please stop, please stop. We'll change the rules. You can wear jeans. Because it's fucking 2025, people. Let people wear jeans. What the fuck? With all of that being said, we are finally ready to dive into what happened on New Year's Eve at the Blitz World Chess Championship. But first, let's start with the end of day one. It's December 30th. It has been hours upon hours of chess, and we have a tie for first place. There are not 5, not 8, but 10 players tied for first place. And if you remember, only 8 players are able to advance into the quarterfinals on day 2. So do all 10 of them go? No. Due to technicalities which are written into the rules, thankfully, the 9th and 10th place were decided based on rules already written within the tournament guidelines. To me, truthfully, they seem like by technicality. The point here being that already things were a little bit fishy about the new system in place for deciding a winner. 10 people on day 1 had tied for first, but only 8 of them were allowed to move on to quarterfinals on day 2. We have finally made it to December 31st, New Year's Eve, baby, 2024. We're leaving you in the past, bitch. We don't want to see you no more. 2025 will definitely be worse, but we will not have fond memories of 2024. Let's get the out of here. Let's go. To celebrate the end of the year, we are crowning a Blitz World Chess Champion. There are 8 players vying for first place. Those players include, of course, Magnus Carlsen and Jan Nepomniachtchi, the 2 stars of this story. But beyond them, there's other fantastic players such as Wesley So, Alireza Firouzja, Fabiano Caruana, and Hans Niemann, to name a few. These players are going to play a best of 4 games. Whoever wins moves on to semifinals. It continues the same way in semifinals and the final match. Each time they sit across their opponent, they will be playing 4 games against them to determine the victor. The chess matches here are like genuinely fantastic. I would wholeheartedly recommend you at least watch the matches between Magnus Carlsen and Hans Niemann, because that was incredible. Hans Niemann put Magnus Carlsen on the ropes and nearly knocked him out of the tournament, but of course Magnus Carlsen is a fighter that we know him to be, and he came back and beat Hans Niemann to move on to semifinals. But you don't have to watch the games if you're just here for the drama. These are how the brackets worked out. We see that Magnus Carlsen and Jan Nepomniachtchi are slowly fighting their way through the crowd until we get to the finals, and it is just the 2 of them left. These are games I would also recommend you watch, but again, if you're just here for the drama, then you're here for the drama. The games start with Magnus having a 2-0 lead. With one more win or even a draw, Magnus Carlsen was going to win the championship. But Jan Nepomniachtchi, the absolute monster that he is, fought back and won not once, but twice, securing his place in tiebreakers for the championship. It would be him and it would be Magnus. As we've already stated, this year's tiebreaks are different. The players will play 2 rounds first to determine a concisive victor. And if there is no winner, they will play another game on and on. Magnus Carlsen and Jan Nepomniachtchi draw their first 2 games. So we move on to the 3rd tiebreak game, which we hope will be decisive. But again, Jan Nepomniachtchi fights back against some bad positions. Magnus Carlsen unable to break through. At the end of that, a draw.
They've agreed a draw.
On yet another draw.
Tiebreak game number 3 is a draw. Magnus seems like he's really wondering about something.
They're discussing something.
We're heading into a 4th. In the 4th game, Magnus will have the white pieces.
But here is where the story would capture the ire of the chess world. Magnus Carlsen looked across the table and asked Jan Nepomniachtchi if he was willing to split the title, to split first place between the 2 of them. And Jan Nepomniachtchi agreed. I don't blame Jan for that. If I was in his shoes, I would say yes as well. Hell, there's circumstances in where I'm in Magnus's shoes and I say, yeah, let's just split first place. They call over the chief arbiter, who says they are going to have to check with the FIDE president on this because it is not written within the rules.
Well, it was everything at the spur of a moment, basically. And Alex obviously said that, okay, there's no provision for such thing, but he should consult FIDE president, for that matter, because it's an alteration to original regulations and only president can take such a decision.
After a few moments, everyone gets up and leaves the chessboard. From here until there is a decision, 13 minutes pass. The chief arbiter walks off. Magnus and Jan are seen walking around. And the commentators are left wildly confused.
What is happening?
I don't know.
They are, okay, an arbiter is coming to the board.
Something in Magnus's mind. What are they discussing? Or maybe
The possibility to split the first prize? Anyway, we are getting ready, folks, for the game 8.
I'm definitely confused as something. Why are they walking away? They should be playing another game. And
Magnus now walks off. Okay.
I mean, you're not going to change the rules and make an Armageddon, are you?
We see on the FIDE live stream a group of men shuffling their way through the crowd. These are FIDE's officials who are working their way towards Jan Nepomniachtchi, standing now off stage. From my guess, just really digging into the audio, I think I hear the FIDE official ask Jan, first place draw? Question mark?
Processional.
At which point we see Jan kind of nod his head and say yes, and then the FIDE group of men immediately start to walk away. It gets a little bit choppy here, but we can see, again, this group of men in the FIDE live stream walking away. And not soon after that, Jan Nepomniachtchi and Magnus Carlsen in both videos walking around drinking some water. Here's where we get to the first bit of audio that I've found. Now, I want to be completely upfront in saying I do not know for certain whether Jan Nepomniachtchi or Magnus Carlsen said this. Neither of them are on camera, and so I can't undeniably say that either of them said this. However, to my ears, in my opinion, it sounds like Magnus, and to my ears, right before the behind the scenes video is cut, I hear Magnus Carlsen saying, I'm willing to lose. It's possible that he could be saying, I'm going to lose. To my ears, it sounds like he says, I'm willing to lose. We don't have enough time right now to get into what that could mean. I'll talk about it later. Let's keep on moving. Unfortunately, from this point until the next point at which both of the boys are on camera, a minute passes. But in my opinion, I don't think it looks good going off the things we already know. The live stream is no help. They're just continuing to show us how much money is on the line. I want to bring us full screen to the behind the scenes footage and really bump up the audio in this moment, where, in my opinion, we can clearly hear Jan Nepomniachtchi saying, I'm willing or I'm going to give you checkmate. At which point, Magnus Carlsen responds, yeah, it's at least like a scenario.
It was at least like a scenario. It was at least like a scenario. It was at least like a scenario.
Again, we're going to dig into what this could mean and the different variations of if they're joking or not. But for right now, let's keep it moving. About 10 seconds later is where we hear Magnus Carlsen utter the infamous phrase that set the chess world on fire about a week ago, in which he states, I mean, if they refuse, we can play short draws game to game.
I'll say, like, they refuse, we can just make short draws game to game. I'll say, like, they refuse, we can just make short draws game to game.
Again, to recap, about a minute ago, I hear Magnus Carlsen saying, I'm willing to lose. About a minute later, Jan Nepomniachtchi is on camera saying, I'm willing or I'm going to give you checkmate. Magnus says, at least that's like a scenario. Then about 10 seconds later says, I mean, if they refuse, we can just play short draws game to game.
It was at least like a scenario. I'll say, like, they refuse, we can just make sure it's
Are we picking up what I'm putting down? A few minutes later, we hear Jan jokingly say something along the lines of, like, I cannot do 30 or I cannot play 30. I'm sure that's referencing either the amount of games that they could be playing or some other tournament in which Grandmasters played for 30 games. I don't know.
I mean, I cannot go there.
But maybe you can tell me in the comments. Either way, here again, the live stream and the behind the scenes footage are going to help each other. Right after shoving in our face how much money is on the line, we can see Jan Nepomniachtchi standing right here and Magnus Carlsen standing right about there when they're aligned now with the behind the scenes footage. This is how I'm able to time everything together. When, what happens when. Now we're going to fast forward a little bit here again because there's just not much going on. We lose a little bit of time from the behind the scenes, but when we come back again, we hear Jan Nepomniachtchi expressing to Magnus how he's sort of found a loophole.
That's actually hacking another feeder over because I changed the tiebreak to this. Yeah, quite some time that's actually hacking another feeder over because I changed the tiebreak to this. Yeah, quite some time
Yeah, oh gosh. It's a little muddled, but it's clear that they are talking about how these circumstances are different. So much so, to which at one point I very clearly hear Jan saying, oh, well, but they changed the rules this year, and Magnus responding along the lines of, well, yes, but I don't think they saw this coming.
But I had to course the rule, but
no, I don't think they got that. Because I don't think they saw it.
A little bit later, they sign a piece of paper, and then immediately after that, they are crowned co-Blitz World Chess Champions. And this is how people took it.
We're live in the playing hall where things have taken a dramatic twist.
Magnus Carlsen suggested to Jan Nepomniachtchi to share first place.
Magnus Carlsen and Jan Nepomniachtchi have requested to split the golden prize and both be tied first.
Oh. That was their conversation. That's what they were discussing?
No
way.
way. No way. No way.
If not for Geneskate, this would have been shut down by the arbiter. But because the arbiter got kind of overruled in a way, that led to the arbiter referring this decision to Dvorkovich as well, making it a politics issue rather than a sporting one.
And in this case, when Magnus makes this proposal and FIDE goes along with it, I simply don't know what to say. I'm left flabbergasted because when the players came into the event, the rules were very clear-cut about how the tiebreakers were. I myself have been in tiebreakers. I played against Magnus Carlsen in a tiebreaker, and there was no such proposal. So why now do we suddenly end up in the situation where it is okay?
Basically, Magnus, again, having... I don't know where he pulls these ideas from, by the way. Because they're just so original.
They could literally make a mockery of things and just make draw after draw after draw.
But then it's like, oh, yeah, and if they say no, then we're just going to cheat. Like, what?
What I find very important is that FIDE let this go because they were afraid the players were going to cheat, because they didn't want... So FIDE has a self-interest in not creating a scandal where they have to ban two of their most prominent players. This should have been shut down instantly. And frankly, it's bad form by Magnus to even suggest it, to even say it out loud. Do you want to split the title? Because that can mess with Nepomniachtchi's psyche.
You know what, guys?
Why are they? We didn't see the ladies request that. No. They made 5 draws in a row, and they're virtually sisters. They're compatriots from the same country. They could have made that request as well.
Hello, Editor Connie again. I just wanted to make the point that they drew 5 games, but played until there was a decisive winner. The women followed the rules. That's all I wanted to say. I want to speculate a bit about what they could mean. So first thing on the table is one of them, in my ears, sounds like Magnus saying, I'm willing or going to lose. Now, we can interpret that the bad way we can interpret that some other ways. In the context of draw after draw after draw, Magnus speaking to Jan and saying, you know, I'm not asking this for a cop out. I'm willing to get second here. I'm willing to lose, is one way to read it. If it was I'm going to lose, maybe it's in the spirit of like, I'm so exhausted here. Like, it's just been a long day. At this point, they've been playing chess for nearly 5 hours. And one of them is admitting their exhaustion. But again, I think we have to come back to the one that is the most obvious and the elephant in the room. I'm going to assert that it is likely Jan or Magnus, because I don't know who else in that play hall would be saying that. It just doesn't make sense that it would come out of anyone's mouth other than the players who were playing at the time. And so we have to contend with that. But putting that aside, because no one is on camera when we hear that, we do hear Jan Nepomniachtchi, joking or not, saying he's willing or going to give Magnus checkmate. And moments later, we hear Magnus say if they refuse, we can just play short draws. What I think is important is where Magnus, after Jan says willing to give you checkmate,
It's at least like a scenario.
These are not jokes. Jokes don't happen in reality. Jokes don't become a scenario. But to Magnus, it is a scenario. And then as I kept digging, to see Jan poke immediately right through this loophole that Magnus had found and saying it's like hacking maybe presumably some other FIDE rule that they know about. It all seems too aware of itself. They both seem too aware of what's going on. And it's made worse by the commentators of the 2 major live streams of this event speculating whether they at that exact moment were agreeing to make draws. I'm going to read Magnus's statement. It's on the screen here. He put this out on Twitter. He said, "I've never prearranged a draw in my career. In the video, I'm joking with Jan in a situation with lacking decisive tie-breaking rules. This was obviously not an attempt to influence FIDE. It was said in the spirit that I thought FIDE would be agreeing to our proposal. If it was anything..." I gotta get through it first. You can't be hitting me with the 1-2 of, like, I said it because I thought they were gonna do what I said anyway. What? Anyway. If anything, it was a bad joke given the gravity of the situation. Now, these are really good jokes and, like, really, like, calculated jokes to be jokes. The part about lacking decisive tiebreak rules is just untrue, in my opinion, as many people, even commentators live on stream, noted. The rules were very clear about how tiebreaks were to occur. Armageddon and that type of game structure would have been a much better way to solve this problem. There are many other ways, too, that other people afterwards have come up with. We could have made a new event. We could have kept playing the games. My partner came up with a better idea as to how to solve the tiebreak. Just rock, paper, scissors. Like, I would have settled for that. And I think a lot of the chess community agrees. A lot. In these 2 polls, there's like well over 200,000 people. A hefty majority of them do not like what happened. But it's more than not liking what happened. It's about the implications of what happened. And as I've come to hopefully share with everything that I've found to make sure this doesn't happen again. if you ask me, I think they are both well deserving of the title. Jan Nepomniachtchi especially. Putting aside all of the rhetoric, some of the speculations that I have, and the statements that have come out afterwards, the games that were in question did not happen. The games in which Jan Nepomniachtchi and Magnus Carlsen allegedly, speculatively were agreeing to match fix did not happen. But I want to assert that it's FIDE's fault that it got this far. It is FIDE's fault that the tiebreak was not structured in a decisive way. It is FIDE's fault for saying yes and not saying no. I hope that this will push FIDE to, number one, like, relax your dress code rules, girl. What the hell? And number two, like, more importantly, like, whatever you gotta do to not let this happen again. And I don't think that FIDE should move past this event. I think they should do their own investigation. Whether the players are punished or not is not in my purview, but it's also out of my realm of caring. I don't care. I don't wish ill will upon either of them. But the discussions that they were having are not great, and they were had because FIDE allowed it to happen. None of the conversations, none of their speculations, like, none of this should have been happening. And again, I hope that FIDE will do something about this so that it doesn't happen again. That's all from me. If you want to support me, you can, like, follow me. I make music. I will probably keep doing things like this. That's it. Buy yourself a pair of jeans.